This podcast is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s, where you can get a slew of bonus episodes, over a dozen at this point. It's maybe even more than that. On a number of top tier movies, you got things like Top Gun, Dirty Dancing. What's that other dancing one with the Flash dance? No, not Flash.
Roger Rabbit.
No, Roger Rabbit, the one we did in Baltimore, the one with Kevin Bacon, Footloose.
Oh, yeah. You can't say the other dancing movies. 80s movie because it's not clear enough.
Fair. Anyway, visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s, where you can find all of the wonderful bonus content that you get by supporting this show. That's patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and with me, as always, is a man whose Instagram feed has a lot in common with Clint Howard's Lifetime character list. They're both full of bums. The Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lano. Didn't know where you were going, but I liked it. Liked it a lot.
Woo! Been working on that joke for 2 days.
That was a very good one.
I had the idea instantaneously when I saw Clint show up at the beginning of this movie looking like a bum. Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I'm not using this as a derogatory term for someone who is unhoused. I'm using it to describe the characters Clint Howard plays in movies, which are bums, which is a different thing than a real human being in the world. But
he basically has a stick with a bandana on the end.
Yeah,
and fingerless gloves and a can of beans with the lid still half attached. Like that's. I feel like when we say bum, that's what we mean. It's not a real person in any stretch of the imagination.
He knows exactly where to find a pie cooling on a windowsill. Is what I'll say.
He could even wearing a top hat with the top part askew, like off, like the bean can.
Yes, precisely. I'm gonna. Well, you know what? Let's do this first. We watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, which you made fun of me calling it Fourn-uary, and now that I watched this movie and it's practically pornography, this is a Fourn-uary. Yeah, this is Fourn-uary. But we watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, and you know what that means.
I fucking hated it. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go dissect the 80s. It's your fucking bugs. I'm gonna put these fucking bugs.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
I put in the same amount of effort to that Doc Brown as it feels like this movie did to anything other than visual effects.
Yeah, so let me give you the rundown here. I was like trying to find. I found out about last episode's movie, which I thought was good, right?
Yeah,
free fun movie.
Yeah.
And this was recommended similarly as like, oh, it's kind of like this wild late direct-to-video sequel for one of these franchises.
I want to punch whoever suggested that this movie and that movie are in the same ilk.
Agreed, because Amityville is a hoot, and this is so gross. But
Amityville makes sense. Like,
sure,
it doesn't make all the sense. There's still questions.
Yeah.
But the through line makes sense. Like, evil clock is brought into house. It slowly infects people in the house.
Yep.
We watch the progression of their personality change. They defeat the clock. Like, it's pretty cut and dry. This just doesn't have any of that.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that this movie has, so I was like, okay, let me look at this movie. I see Clint Howard. Okay, that's in the pro column. I see that it's about spontaneous human combustion, which I have a story to go with. So we'll wait a minute. Not about obviously me personally, but I had a mildly amusing anecdote that I was like, okay, let me share this. So that goes in the plus column, and I was like, oh, special effects by Screaming Mad George, who I don't remember the movie. But we've done a couple of Screaming Mad George's movies, and we're always like, oh, they're like fun, crazy visual effects. Like a little yucky, but not too yucky.
Didn't he end up doing one of the Nightmares?
I think you're right. Yes, I think you're right. And I specifically remember having a really fun discussion on the podcast previously about how much we liked the way Screaming Mad George did effects.
Yeah.
Like the vibe of them is cool. And so I was like, all right, that's like 3 easy wins. It's 90 minutes long. You know, what could go wrong? Yeah, it's really more like 88.
We enjoyed the first Silent Night when we watched it. I don't think we watched it for the pod.
The fifth one was fun. Remember we did the fifth one with Mickey Rooney. Yeah, which I thought was fun. And you and I have watched Silent Night, Deadly Night, but I don't think we did it on the pod.
No, we just watched it as like just brothers who watch things together.
Yeah. Sometimes we watch it.
Although I think it was before we were doing a podcast, so we didn't have the wherewithal to be like, don't watch this.
Yeah. The number of times I like put off watching a movie or rewatching a movie for like years because I was like, well, we'll do that on the podcast. And it's like, I'm always tempering like, well, if it's not good, I don't want to watch it twice, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll do that. So anyway, and I used to like, just like, oh, screw it, I'll just watch it and take the notes. But if like more than 6 months have elapsed, my notes are useless to me.
Yeah, you have to, or at least scrub through again.
Yeah. I remember at one point thinking like, oh, should we like give people our notes as a Patreon bonus thing? And I was just like, I don't want anyone to see this.
No, I can't.
This is the scribblings of a madman.
You know the beginning of I think it's the beginning of 7 or the end credits of 7 where they like show John Doe's notebooks. Yeah, that's what the notes look like.
Yeah, I mean mine are like insane, and like instead of going to a new line with a new thought, I make an arrow, which is ludicrous, but it kind of saves. I try to keep each movie to one legal sheet, both sides, which usually works out. I
do 3 pages in a notebook if it's like a small I don't know, the 5x7 notebook. I don't know what you call that.
Yeah, you got a half sheet there. Yeah,
a half sheet. I do 3 half sheets for a 90-minute movie.
Yeah. So I try to stick, and then like this movie in particular, I was writing down a lot, so I like it's just in the margins, and it looks like an insane person. So anyway,
I also only write on one side of the paper.
Really?
Yeah, because I write heavy, and I have ended up with a bunch of these really thin ass notebooks where the paper's real thin.
Okay.
So if I tried to write on the other side, I feel like it would just like.
Always a good sign for the movie that you're discussing when there's a lengthy diatribe about paper thickness.
This movie
always
fucking
solid.
Sucks. Like I'm just
so. This
if you don't enjoy the podcasts where we like really don't like something, you're not going to enjoy this one, and I'm sorry.
The movie is what did I call it to you in the text? An orgy of bad taste.
An orgy of bad taste. Yes.
Yeah, and it is really like every opportunity to do the most tasteless thing, the movie takes it. And it's not just like first of all, it's kind of yucky. Like this is definitely upper limit yucky for me personally.
Yeah.
I don't like a yucky movie. I watched the first Hellraiser thinking like, oh, it was again like maybe we should do this in the pod, but I don't want to like commit to it. Watched it and was like,
no,
all right, I'm glad I checked this off, but I'm not doing any more Hellraisers. I just don't care for it. I don't want to see people with all their skin off. Well, you know what else I don't want to watch? People vomit bugs.
Or people get raped with insects.
Yeah. And so really just diabolically tasteless this movie.
Yeah, it's a bummer because I was like, oh, Clint Howard, whatever. I like the first one, whatever. And it's so aggressively bad on so many counts. And like Brian Usna, who produced a bunch of stuff, produced a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, he was brought on as a director and had no interest in doing anything about Killer Santa Claus. And I was like, well, then a bold choice to sign on to direct the 4th Silent Night, Deadly Night movie.
And the other thing, though, is like, even if you don't want to do Deadly Santa Claus, this is a movie about, it's a Christmas horror movie. There's barely any Christmas in this.
Right? I forgot it was Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. There's like some decorations and stuff at a few points.
It wasn't until she had dinner at her boyfriend's house that I was like, oh, right, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
But like, apparently the screenwriter had already drafted something with like a journalist who gets involved in a witch cult on Christmas. And I'm like, all right, those bones are fine. Where do the bugs come from? Because I know more than nothing about Lilith, and I've never, ever had anyone be like, oh yeah, she's a bug lady. She's bug lady.
Lilith on Supernatural is bug free.
Lilith on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, also bug free.
Yeah. So my guess
she had a bird. She had a crow. Could have had crows.
You saying what you just said is what prompted this. So I am pulling this entirely out of my own ass. Fully pulling this out of my own ass. I think Screaming Mad George was like, I got a lot of cool bug shit. And they were like, all right.
Oh, 100%.
I think that is the extent of it. I don't think a lot of thought went into it.
But like Brian Usna apparently was the one that was like, oh, I took the witch thing and was like, well, make them a Lilith witch cult. And it's like, okay, but why?
Right.
And you know what else witches have, historically speaking? Magic powers. You know what these witches don't do a damn thing of? Spellcasting, potion making, magic having.
Yeah, they do have some sort of magic though, because they like entrance this woman.
But like, I need to.
I'm not disagreeing with you. You are correct. I'm just saying this movie gives them magic powers, and then we don't ever
vaguely
see or
kind
get
of.
any.
But normally in these movies, it's like, oh, we are doing this to appease Lilith because she is trapped in a bug form. Like, you can make up shit. You know, God got so mad at Lilith that he turned her into a bug. It's not a part of any mythology, but sure, make that up. And so we need to make a bug person in order to have Lilith come on, like, walk the earth again. I don't know. I pulled that out of my ass without thinking. And that sounds better than what this movie was.
Yeah. And it starts right away with the bugs. So Clint Howard on the street, dressed like a bum.
Love the opening credits, by the way. I will say, I will give that prop.
Oh, I will say, complete opposite. I literally wrote, how dare you do the Vertigo credits?
That's why I liked them.
It's like, you absolute villain. How dare you? The balls to do the Vertigo credits. How dare you?
And or the credits of Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Different swirly, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the opening. I was like, oh, enjoyable opening credits. They're too long, but they're enjoyable.
Yeah. There's a flaming body that drops off the roof of this building and burns up right in front of Clint Howard. Awesome body fall, awesome dummy. The first of several in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
But Clint digs a burger out of the trash with ants on it and takes a bite, and it's just like 100% Clint Howard just ate some ants.
And gets mad that there's no cheese on it. Like, that's what we're supposed to take away. Like, oh, I was like, is this supposed to be funny? Was that supposed to be a joke?
There are 3 Clint lines in this that I feel like are 100% ad-libs.
Okay. You think the cheese was
because
one of them?
The cheese is one of them, and then the other one is during one of the multiple sexual assaults in this movie. Clint Howard they're like,
oh, does it have to be in here?
Yes. Which I was just like, why you're doing that is not the time for that joke in this movie.
Yeah, we're not doing bits, buddy.
Right. So maybe those are the only 2. I might have a third one written down, but those definitely just felt like Clint Howard's like a guy who does a lot of comedy. He does a lot of all sorts of genre, but it's just like I think
like
he just
Clint
did an
Howard
ad-lib.
a lot. I hated this, and I hated his character in this. It wasn't even like, oh, he was my island in the storm or whatever the fucking phrase is. I hated his character too.
Yeah. We get nudity at minute 6, which tells you exactly what kind of movie.
Strangely athletic sex. I feel like you do not see
really
sex that
vigorous.
Normally.
No, it's pretty vigorous. And both people are like pretty involved in the athleticism of the what's on screen. So it's like, it felt like both actors are like, we're going for it. If we have to do this shit, we're going to do it.
Well, I was waiting for them to like dismount and jump off the bed with their arms in the air for a judging panel.
Yes. Yeah. Also, the theme song for the movie during these Vertigo credits is very Unsolved Mysteries, which brings me to the spontaneous human combustion thing I was going to say is there was an Unsolved Mysteries episode about spontaneous human combustion.
Was it
I don't
Mary
know if
Worthing or
there was a number of people who combusted in the episode.
Okay.
I don't remember the names. But so Unsolved Mysteries was like 70% murderers,
crimes,
and
actual
sexual
crimes,
assaulters, and crimes, and 30% just like weird shit, including Bigfoot,
Mothman,
spontaneous human combustion, Mothman, almost certainly. I know about Bigfoot and spontaneous human combustion because a couple years ago on vacation in Colorado, my wife and I went to a place that had this like really funny Bigfoot crossing sign, and we took pictures in front of it. And then like underneath was a little explainer that was like, you know, the Bigfoot stories of this area were recapped on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And I was like, oh shit, Let's look that up. So then I Google Unsolved Mysteries Bigfoot, and to my surprise, multiple Bigfoot episodes. So we watched all of the Bigfoot segments while we were on that trip. I mean, it was like, 4 of them or whatever it was. And I was like, oh man, I, as a kid, was so scared of this spontaneous human combustion thing. Cause it was just like, as a kid, it was on TV, so it was facts.
Yeah,
right?
it was real. It was real.
Yeah. And so they're showing like a person who spontaneously human combusted while sitting in their armchair, like a lazy boy, like the old school lazy boys with the fabric, not the leather kind.
Yeah.
And so there was like a burnt human shape in the chair. And I was just like, oh my God, this could happen to me. You know, like just pure dumb kid energy. And it scared the shit out of me. I was a very easily scared child, as I've
normally
said
it's like tornadoes and quicksand.
Sure. No,
I'll take
this was spontaneous
human
human combustion, which like almost certainly doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean,
you read the stories and it's like always a person who was actively smoking a cigarette, and it's like, you know,
but it's more that I think it's more that the what the fire does is the mysterious part. Like the one that I said, Mary Worthing or Reese, something like that. I think she was in Florida, and it was like her chair had gone up in flames, and so like her whole body was gone, but her foot was in a shoe that wasn't burned at all, and all of the newspapers in the room weren't singed at all. There was no it's like, I think it's more.
But if you read about it, I think that woman that you're describing is the one that's in the unsolved mystery.
Probably
just because of the
she's
chair
like
thing.
the one.
And I remember the visual of the shoes being there, but the theory is that like human bodies have a lot of fat, and that fat burns. And this woman likely was old and had poor circulation, was smoking, fell asleep. The cigarette like burrowed into her, burning her, but she was like unaware of. She like didn't have enough pain receptors or whatever, and it just like set her on fire basically while she was asleep.
Why didn't the rest of the apartment catch fire?
Because it just like very hotly burned all the fuel of her, and it didn't catch the other. Like it was like the human body burned with but it was like something about the way the human body is made up. It burnt all of the stuff that was combustible, all the fat, but the other things like prevented the fire from spreading. Like the fact that it was inside her body.
Oh,
something like that. Again, I'm trying to remember something I read years ago, so correct me. You know, Google spontaneous human combustion, read Wikipedia if you want some explainers. But there's like a logical explanation. All of these people were smokers or whatever. Anyway, scared the shit out of me, and so I was like, okay, this movie has
the starting the fire always makes sense to me, but it's like, well, why didn't the fire do other stuff?
Yeah. Well, one day we'll do Backdraft, and you'll see. Like, fire's a live animal. It does weird shit.
Okay.
I mean, Backdraft is a fine movie. It's got Kurt and...
I just know that it was a ride at Universal at one point, I think.
It was an attraction. It was like the Twister thing.
Yeah. Or Disaster.
Yeah. No. It was like the Twister thing.
Wasn't that the same thing as Disaster? Weren't they the same attraction?
No. Remember Twister? You like stood and watched a little like special effects room go off?
No. I thought they were the same. I thought it was like a reskin.
No. It was called Twister Ride It Out, and you walked into a room and there was like Bill Paxton and What's-Her-Face on different
monitors because they fucking hated each other.
They would not speak to each other. And then you walk into the room and it's like 4 rows with like a bar in the front that you're supposed to like air quotes hang on to, but it's just like this is very much for you and not everyone else, but it's like the pre-show room in Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like a 4-foot high railing or 3-foot high railing, and then there's like a fake house.
It's the same one they used for the backlot tour in Disney when they showed off the water tank explosions. It was like a standing bleachers essentially with a little.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. But so this was like a fake house and a fake. It's not a windmill, but it looks like a windmill. You see them on farms and movies all the time.
I think it's a windmill, isn't it?
Well, it's usually just like a weather. It seems like more like a weather vane, I suppose. I don't know what it does, but like the metal, small metal structure with the tail and the spinny part in the front, and like a couple other things. And then it was like, oh no, it's an F5. And then you would watch the F5 go through that thing. They would have like rain and it would blow the wind, and then the house would fall apart.
Wet or anything, right? It was all
you might have gotten some like ancillary splash because it's Universal. They probably like squirted you with water a couple times, and I think they blew air at you, so it felt like it was windy. But it was just like you just watched. It was like being on Disaster, but you aren't on a little cart. You just watch, and it's like a third of the time. So you watch like one small disaster happen.
In my head, I always thought
out.
Twister was a reskin.
No, we all hated it and we never did it again. It is probably the thing you can watch a video of and get the whole thing of more than anything else.
There's no fan.
Yeah, you could put a fan on your face and that would be it. Anyway,
she's an intrepid lady reporter with a nose for news.
Yes, and the boss here is Phantasm's Reggie.
I've seen Phantasm. Who's Reggie?
Uh-huh. The best friend guy. The guy who looks like the guy here. He's bald with a mullet.
Oh, I don't
He's
remember.
got a skullet. Reggie is like the main dude. He's Reggie. What I love about those movies is Reggie in every one of them gets seduced by the Phantasm portraying a very sexy woman. And Reggie is always like, yeah, this tracks.
Yeah.
An incredibly sexy woman seduces Reggie, who is like middle-aged, completely bald and skulleted.
Yes.
But this woman, I was so mad about this. So she like has this idea for a story, which is like, oh, I saw on TV this woman burned alive. I want to write about it. And I'm like, that's not, I came up with a story. That is a story as a person who
already
was a
happened
reporter,
and you're just also adding on.
Right. That's a story that gets assigned to a reporter in the newsroom because you need to have a version of the story and cover it. Like, you didn't come up. This isn't like she went to get a book and then she found out about this cult and now she wants to do this piece on the cult. That is like I give me a shot to do
this
a story.
Is my
I
case
have this
or whatever.
Yeah. I have a cool idea. I came up with it. Here's my clips. You know, I can handle this. Yada, yada, yada. So her like righteous indignation when he's like, okay, yeah, we need to do a version of that here. Bill, you take it, or whoever he says. I don't remember the characters' names in this movie. Is not important enough to look it up. And she gets so mad. She's like stomping around. I'm like, lady, you watching the news is not you getting dibs on this. What the hell?
Yeah, they should have had it where she was there when it happened. Like she was walking by when the body fell. Then it's like, okay.
Yes. Yeah. And to be fair, the fact that Phantasm's Reggie is like, hey, go make us some coffee. Yeah, that sucks. That's office misogyny.
She get the real woman in the office in the 80s treatment.
Yeah, you can get up with that. But it's like, you're not a reporter and you didn't come up with the idea to cover breaking news. Sorry. Yeah. She goes to do some sleuthing anyway.
First she talks to her friend, Miss Grotke from Recess, and Elle Wood's UCLA advisor.
Oh, yeah. I didn't put either of those together, but that is true. We get she meets up with a butcher who, in classic movie fashion, is not only covered in blood on his apron, but his hands are bloody. And he's
Asian, and like the movie definitely does racist things with that.
Absolutely. But also, she's getting peanuts out of the dispenser machines. And even as a kid, I found these disgusting.
You know what that is? That's petting zoo feed. That's not human food. That's for petting zoo animals.
Yeah, the idea of putting in a quarter and getting a loose handful of peanuts that slid down the chute, God knows what else has been in there, or who else put their grubby fingers in to make sure they got every peanut they paid for. Like, no, thank you.
No, thanks.
Nope. This is like 10 steps grosser to me than a loose bowl of peanuts at a dive bar.
You think this is grosser than that? Or
like if I went to a dive bar and I sat down, I ordered a beer,
peanut bowl
and I've had
grosser
this happen.
Than this.
If they reach under the counter and then put a peanut bowl in front of me or a popcorn bowl, which I've had happen, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to eat this. I'm just not going to think about it. But the idea of like turning the crank on that grubby machine, I don't know, way grosser to me.
I don't know. Because usually I feel like at dive bars, they're like, you see them pick up the container of popcorn because it's like a Costco barrel and they're just like, pump,
sure,
pump.
Shake it. Yeah. Though the best I've seen in the dive bar is the little like peanut thing you turn upside down and it dumps like a small handful into your hand.
I truly can't even picture what you're talking about.
It's like, it almost looks like a vase. It's like a plastic or a beaker where it's like a large sphere at the bottom and a tube up top. Mm-hmm. And it's just designed such that you like tilt it over upside down.
That's clever.
And not, they don't all fall out. I'm sure you could shake it up in such a way to make them all fall out at once, but it's just like when you invert it, a small handful falls out.
Oh, that's clever.
She finds the chalk outline of the dead body, which is
always
a torso. This is like a joke from Loaded Weapon. It's
or
like
Mel Brooks.
Yeah. the perfect torso outline, and then the bottom is just black soot, rather.
It's so funny. And they don't do that, right? We talked about this. They don't. That's not a real thing.
So I'm sure that like it has happened and has been part of things, but like on the street seems insane.
Yeah, I feel like pictures do more of the storytelling these days than the chalk outline.
Maybe they used to and they don't. I don't know.
So
tweet at us if you know the answer to this question.
So Clint Howard follows her around a bookstore and touches her.
Oh, this is when we find out it's Christmas because there's Christmas decorations either outside or inside the bookstore.
Well, we saw that when they walked to the office, there was a nutcracker outside.
Okay. I feel like there's like a generic holiday song we get a snippet of or something. Something else tipped me off here, but yeah, you're right. Clint's following her. He's in full hair sniffer mode as a creep here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That he's going to like grab a handful and on your way by.
And you know what? My hair smells good, so go for it, buddy.
Then she lies and says she's a reporter to this woman, just like straight up impersonates someone else as a job.
But remember bookstores instead of Google? Remember like this very strange, mysterious event? You could either set your VCR to record onto a blank VHS tape an episode of Unsolved Mysteries and hope it was about what you're talking about. Or you had to go to a bookstore that had an occult section.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can Google it, and there are 8 different jamokes on YouTube doing stupid videos about it with the same spooky royalty-free music underneath it.
My favorite of that recently was this, like, I don't know if you saw this, but there was like a very serious real incident in a mall in Miami. I don't remember if it was a shooting or fireworks, but it was something like that you know, was a dangerous situation. And somehow people were like, oh, it was actually aliens. And they took a video of 3 cops who were like walking along a building, and somehow flipping the video horizontally and zooming in made them look like this weird gray creature.
What?
Like the way this came across my vision was like, is this an alien in Miami? And I was like, that looks like shit. And I'm like, I'm gonna click this tweet and probably regret it. And like the 5th one down is like, you just flipped this video and zoomed in a weird way. And they showed the exact video unfucked with. And the unfucked with one is just like 3 cops who are like weirdly in sync with their walk. And I think something about like zooming in distorted them to look like one
weird being.
But it was just like, oh, well, that was debunked very quickly for me. All right, on to the next thing, I guess.
In a similar vein, not really that, I guess, because Gypsy Rose Blanchard just got out of jail recently. All the apps and shit are trying to market that because they all made a documentaries when it happened 3 years ago, and now they're like, hey. But my favorite is HBO Max going, can you something effect like, can you solve the mysterious death of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's mom? And I was like, it's definitively not a mystery. She got caught and sentenced, and she's out of jail now. Like, there's no mystery. She did it.
Right. Yeah. My favorite. This is probably my favorite part of the movie. The bookstore lady who is a Bond girl, Maud Adams, I think is the name. Yes. No, she's Pussy Galore. She's in Octopussy.
Oh, I thought it said I thought her character name was listed as Octopussy. I didn't.
The character is Pussy Galore.
There's no. Well, then why is the movie called Octopussy?
Well, she goes underwater, you see.
Oh, wait, is that actually why?
I don't remember the why. Her name is Pussy Galore because it's a double entendre.
I know, but why is the movie called Octopus? Because all the other ones are like named after stuff, isn't it? Like the Quantum of Solace is a thing. So. Goldfinger is a human, is a person.
Oh, yeah. Octopussy, I don't remember specifically, but
I swear when I went on Wikipedia, it said Octopussy as her character name as well. But maybe
I think the Wikipedia says she was the Bond girl in Octopussy, not that she was the titular Octopussy.
Oh, that could be.
I think that's one with a submarine.
I think there's a couple with a submarine.
Oh, it definitely is. No, I apologize. She is Octopussy. I thought she was Pussy Galore. I was wrong.
Wait, I bet Pussy Galore is the good girl, and Octopussy is the bad girl.
I mean, maybe Pussy Galore might just not be in that movie at all. We're verifying this now. No, Pussy Galore is from Goldfinger. Completely different. So
Really?
I apologize. Yeah, so
Boy.
Octopussy is her.
Boy, straight white men are real creative.
Ian Fleming had one thing on the mind. But anyway, okay, my favorite part of this movie, where the bookstore owner, Maud Adams, is like, you look hungry. Why don't you have a snack? And she picks up a bowl of wet, loose, assorted dates, hands the bowl to this woman, and then has her eat one. And she's like, I like to make sure my customers are taken care of. And she puts it back down. All 4 of these snacks are wet, loose items. It's not identifiable what the other ones are. And I was like, oh, very clearly this is going to be, because this is going to be a roach later and she's going to eat a bug.
It's a bug.
Like 100%. But I was like, dates have pits. What do you want this woman to do with the pit of her date? And the answer is that Maud Adams is like, she spits in her paw, and Maud Adams is like, I'll take that for you, snags a tissue and puts it in the trash can.
And I thought it was going to be a thing. I was like, oh, she needed her spit for a spell or something.
Yes, 100%.
But also, like, we always joke that, like, people aren't in movies, like, do things because it's a movie. The lead Kim character does not behave as a human being behaves. Like,
right.
If you are an adult and you put something in your mouth that has a pit in front of one other person, it's not like a party where there's whatever. You don't just, like, she literally standing there just puts her hand and goes bleh, and like spits it out. I was like, are you 4 years old?
Yeah, like if I have an olive with a pit in that situation, guess where that pit lives? Right where a dip of tobacco would go until I can be not near another person.
Or like if she did the discreet, like bring her hand to her mouth like she's like wiping something away and spit into her hand.
Yeah, you pinch at your nose a couple times and in the process spit it into the other fingers and you're good. Yeah, come on.
It goes into that little the pocket watch pocket of your jeans.
Yeah,
until you do laundry and you're like, what is this?
Is this an olive pit with fuzz all over it?
Is this a frilly toothpick?
But so, you know, she has her loose date, and then this is like fully cult initiation shit of like, oh, you should come to our picnic. I gave you this extra book. And she's like, I don't really want this book. And she's like, no, you're going to take it and you're going to come to our picnic. And then she kisses her.
She kisses her. What the hell?
I have no idea. But I will say the second best part of the scene.
Can you take me to the rooftop? I'm not going to the rooftop with this woman who gave me loose dates and kissed me and forced a book on me.
Yeah. And then you see this painting in the bookstore, and it is like Anne Boleyn era girl who is just serving it. She's up there like this withering glance, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening, but this painting is delightful.
I need more of this painting in this movie. So she, for some reason, climbs up onto the ledge to look down at the chalk outline?
Before she does that, she sees a scary face water stain, which is obviously a turn back now.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
And then she gets on the roof and she climbs up on the ledge like a maniac.
But like, are we supposed to gather that she's like being drawn to the ledge?
Yes, 100%. She has this like sort of dreamy look in her eye, and Clint is watching her creepily.
But like, I don't know. Then like, maybe the perspective of her looking over the ledge, it should be like very close to the ground, and she could be confused.
Yeah,
like if that would be even cooler. I have so many notes about this fucking movie. That like, when she looks over the edge, if it was like looking out of leaning out a 1-story window, and she's like, what? And then like she can like pull away and like see that the landscape around her is the same, and then look over the edge and be confused.
Yeah, 100%. And there's also, this is one of the other like 3 passing Christmas mentions. There's one of those half-assed Christmas trees, which is like a pole and then lights strung down to make a tree shape. And if you look at it far away,
it's like
it never looks as good.
Like a maypole, like situation, but with Christmas lights.
So we smash cut to the next day.
Clint Howard gets a gross, gnarly, wet, giant bug out of a pipe first. We think it's a rat.
Yeah,
like a rat.
It's like a foot long slime bug thing.
I hate it.
Very gross. Yeah. And then we smash cut to the next day, bright LA streets, and all I could think of was the needle drop of Randy Newman being I love LA right after this horrible dark thing with her on the ledge. I just could not get that out of my head.
So her apartment's filled with bugs, and then her boyfriend who stole her story, she feels, is like, hey, we talked about you come to my parents. You're not here. Where are you? On her voicemail or mailbox. What are these called?
Answering machine.
Answering machine. I was like, it was not voicemail, even though that also
it was a voicemail. Yeah.
It made sense then too. and she gets like scared by bugs all over her apartment, so she goes to his parents' house.
She's also eating what I called sad getty because it is like some very poorly cooked noodles with like, it doesn't even look like she even bothered microwaving the jar of spaghetti sauce,
I don't always
let
microwave
alone
the jar of spaghetti sauce.
You have cold sauce on your pasta?
Because, I mean, my noodles come right out of a boiling pot of water, so that it warms up pretty good.
All right. First of all...
Also, I don't really do jarred sauce that much.
First of all, your sauce should be warmed on the stove, and you take the pasta a minute early out of the water and put it in the sauce, then it absorbs some sauce, amplifies your flavor. You deserve better than that.
For most of the time, I'm doing butter and cheese or garlic butter and cheese.
The butter and cheese, you don't need to heat up your thing. Although you could do yourself a favor and like get your butter a little browned, and then you'd really be doing something. But
I could, but also
that's extra.
I do one pot for the pasta, and it goes in a bowl, and I just cut the butter right into the bowl.
Oh my god, you are bumming me out. You deserve better.
When I want noodles, I just want buttery noodles.
You deserve better. I'm just saying. Just melt that butter in the pan. Just get it a little brown.
But I don't want to dirty up another fucking pan.
It's a non-stick skillet. You wipe it out. It's 5 seconds. You deserve it.
Couldn't I just microwave the butter to melt it?
You can't. I'm not talking about melting it. I'm talking about browning.
But I don't need brown. No. Here's the thing.
You're developing some flavor compounds.
Here's the thing. You're doing the light version of the fucking chef show where they're like, oh, we want a turkey dinner. And they're like, well, I made guinea fowl foam and whole cranberries frozen. And you're like, well, that's not what I wanted. I want noodles with butter.
I think you would be like, oh, this is actually quite delicious if you had it.
I'm sure it is.
But at minimum, microwave that butter and then you're tossing it on the noodles and getting a better ratio of coating.
But my comfort is just a buttery noodle.
No, I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, melt the butter and then put the cheese in there. And when you toss it around, you'd have better sauce adherence. That's all I'm saying. You deserve good. That's all I'm saying.
And I only buy my favorite noodle, which is the long squiggles. The long hollow squiggles.
The Spiral Boys. Okay. Well, this lady has some cheap store-bought spaghetti and cheap store-bought sauce. The sauce it's basically she boiled the spaghetti, didn't boil it all the way based on the noodles, the visual of the noodles.
Yeah, they're sticky.
Pop that jar of sauce, shook some on the top.
I'm going to go one further. I think there was I think she was finished with that jar of sauce and put it back in the fridge and didn't realize it, and then pulled it out for her spaghetti and was like, oh, there's just some stuck to the sides. And then put a little water in there. Shaky. And then was like, well, I guess there's like maybe 4 teaspoons of sauce in here with this warm water from my tap.
And then she thought about like putting ketchup in it.
She thought about it
for a couple minutes.
She thought about grabbing the ketchup packets that she probably has in her fridge. Then I also I don't buy ketchup because I don't use it, so I only ever have ketchup packets in my fridge.
I buy a bottle of ketchup and keep it probably way too long for how long you're supposed to.
That's why I don't
use it very often either. Yeah, it's like 10 times a year I need ketchup, but it's like, well, I just got to have this.
Yeah, that's why I only ever use like 2 packets worth in something.
I had a bad packet once that's really put me off of doing what you're doing because I used to do that, and I had to like splurt it out, and it's like dark brown, and I put it directly on French fries and ruined some fries, and so I'm too gun shy to not be able to visually know when the ketchup is bad.
I hear that. I mean, I guess because we like the only place where we get ketchup packets is like Five Guys when we get delivery, or if we go to Royal Farms, we can steal some ketchup packets there. And by steal, I mean we buy food and then also get ketchup. Steal in the jokey sense.
Five Guys fry delivery sounds like the worst possible thing to me.
It's not great
fries to begin with. Okay,
I love a Five Guys fry. It's a boardwalk fry. I love a boardwalk fry.
The boardwalk fries have some crisp though. Five Guys fries are a sogger.
No, they're crispy on the outside.
Well, I have had bad ones then because the last time I went to a Five Guys, which is several years ago now, I was like, hey, fucking burn them if you got to. I want them boys crispy. Double cook them. Like whatever you need to do. Whatever your secret code is. I want well done fries. Please, 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 please. And they were like, yeah, I got you. And then I had soggy.
Yeah, it doesn't travel well. And I acknowledge that. So it's not, I don't always do that because as soon as I get it, I have to like open the bag quickly but like it's already been steaming. So
yeah. Anyway,
This movie sucks, by the way. In case the ketchup and French fry and spaghetti talk wasn't clear, this movie sucks.
But she's got her sad Getty, and then we see this like spiral on the floor akin to the credits, and it's just like, oh, the spirals have. No one ever explains the spiral.
There's one picture where it says the image of the power of woman, and it is a squiggly spiral that is very fucking clearly supposed to represent a flower.
Yes.
Which
it's like a Georgia O'Keeffe thing, right? Like
it's way more basic. It's like the restroom door sign of Georgia O'Keeffe. Like there's no detail to it.
Yeah. But it's like vaguely Yannick as opposed to
flowers have always represented femininity.
Sure.
For like as time immemorial. Like, come on.
Yeah. We have a guy who should easily be a first ballot candidate for the Shitty Dad Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like your classic drunk, you bossing the wife around. He yells at everybody. He literally says the woman's place is in the home or the kitchen. I forget which.
I believe it's home raising a family. He's anti-Semitic and he's overtly religious. So it's just like checking all the bingo boxes.
Yep. And then
also at this point, I'm clapping back and I'm walking out that door.
Yeah.
Because
you don't need this.
If you're dating someone and their family is important to them and that is their family, then you don't need to be a part of that family. You should don't be with that person. Don't be with that family. It's fine. He can still be friends with. He can still love his family and do the whole thing. But girl, you treat yourself better.
And then we get the absolute fucking funniest scene of this whole movie where she comes outside and he goes outside with her boyfriend, and he is wearing the absolute loudest jacket I have ever heard in any movie ever. This thing is like...
don't remember this.
You didn't notice this?
I didn't.
They're like standing and talking, and every time this guy moves his body, which he's an actor, he's doing a little bit of business. He's like moving his shoulders up and down. He's
oh, you meant loudest as in not okay.
Literal loud. I can hear the squeak
loud.
of the
I thought
leather.
You meant bright colors loud.
And his jacket is like, I'm going to see if I can do it with this janky old case here.
Just rub two papers together.
No, it's because it's a leathery squeak. So yeah, his jacket is just like squeaking and rubbing and honking and twisting and whatever. And just every time he moves, it's like, and then he gets so sexually aggressive with this woman. They have like a pretty normal horny. Oh yeah. They have like a pretty normal, hey, I'm sorry, that sucked kiss, that people in a relationship have. And then it's just like, oh, give me that ass. And
he just doesn't apologize for in universe, it's portrayed as what he did was shitty.
Yes.
Stealing the story. So he doesn't apologize for that.
Yeah, he's trying to get it in his parents' driveway, basically, which is insane.
And so she starts yelling, he's like, and then he says something to the effect of you can't be too greedy as you're a woman,
yes.
Nonsense. And I think so much of this movie would be way more effective if she wasn't written like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Which, again, maybe two dudes don't need to write a movie about Lilith and women empowerment and witches.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
You know, maybe get a perspective.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if the whole movie was her being, very level-headed, like a kind of a Rosemary's Baby situation.
Yeah.
Very gaslighty. Because this movie isn't gaslighty, because she's running around literally like Anna Faris in the first Scary Movie, where she runs like a Muppet. That's how this woman is throughout this entire movie. And it's okay, well, yeah, they're going to treat you like a crazy person because you act like a crazy person.
Yeah. Exactly. Also, I said Rosemary's Baby so enthusiastically as if I've actually seen that movie and don't just know it through cultural osmosis.
I mean, I feel like 60% of movies and things we learned through theme parks and cultural osmosis.
Yeah. We get back to the apartment and the spaghetti has turned into a starfish, which I kind of liked as an effect.
And then there's a giant bug scurrying around, and
this 4-foot cockroach was the death of me. I was like, do I need to turn this off? No, I can get through it.
And she's too calm for this.
Yes. She does flip multiple pieces of furniture over trying to kill it. So at least she does something,
But, if I see a 4-foot bug in my house, I'm getting the fuck out of my house. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Burn it down, collect the insurance money, start over.
I assume that she's like, that can't be what I just saw. No bug exists that big. But again, this movie is awful.
That's not good. She doesn't act good enough to do that.
No.
And then she runs to the bathroom and vomits up bugs, and there's a 4-foot cockroach on the wall. And it's like,
yes.
Again, she's not reacting enough to the giant bugs or that she vomited up a bug.
Right. If I threw up a bug, I would probably jump out the window right after.
Yes.
And she falls asleep. She passes out.
I would just like put my neck on the rim of the toilet and then slam the lid and be like, "That's it. It's over."
The bug's antenna are like coming under the bathroom door,
and she's not reacting to it.
Well, she's unconscious at that point. I will give her that. Yeah, she goes like and passes out clearly of fear and exhaustion.
Yeah. So she skips work
at
the
that
next
point,
day.
I was like, "Wow, screw Mad George, you are grossing me the fuck out."
Yeah.
And this was the amuse-bouche for what was to come.
Like if this movie had been marketed as like, I don't know, call it Morph, and it's like a body horror, a sexy body horror, or sexual. I don't say sexy. I don't think it's sexy.
Yeah, it's not a sexy movie.
I think they think it's sexy.
I hope not.
Well, there's a lot. It's a sexual body horror version of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Sure. Then I'll take that. But this has...
Well, like, the lady doesn't turn into a bug. Like, she thinks she does at one point, but she doesn't. And it's like, it's not about that. So what are we doing here?
Yeah. It doesn't make
also, in the UK, they just titled this Bugs.
Which is accurate.
Dead of the Night 4. Yeah, that's what this movie should be called. Yeah. They don't fuck around over there. Oh, go! This ain't no. They
look at the tin.
Santa in it.
They look at the tent. There's no Santa here.
There ain't no bloody Santa is filming. Oh, we can't call it Santa Identity Night 4. Go, we got to call it Bugs. It's all about bugs.
I'm picturing they have one of those big rubber, like a big stamp with a handle with the new title that they're going to put. Just, boom. It's Bugs in it.
There's like a tribunal of like, well, what are we going to call this one then?
Yeah.
It's Bugs, isn't it?
It's Silent Night.
That's all it is.
Night, Deadly Night 4, but there's no Santa. It's Bugs in it.
It's barely any Christmas at all. It's not a single figgy pudding to be had anywhere in it.
Yeah, if you don't want to make...
Sir, there's not one single bloody chestnut roasted over a fire, a grill, a stovetop, an oven. There's not one
a trash
single
can flame.
One in the whole film. Not a single chestnut is roasted. All of our UK listeners are just like, unsubscribe, cancel Patreon.
I feel like you need to put like a timestamp warning. But yeah, if you
listeners will be offended at
if you have no interest in making a Christmas-themed horror movie with a killer Santa, then why on earth did you say, yes, I will direct Silent Night, Deadly Night 4?
I mean, my guess is it's the same situation as if they came to either one of us and were like, would you like to direct Silent Night, Deadly Night 7? And we would say, fuck yeah. You know?
Except I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix shit. I don't need to be credited as a writer, but I'm fixing your stupid movie. Like, these don't make any sense. Because it's not like you would need to... Any rewrite we gave to this movie is not going to need new locations, new sets, new actors. Like,
yeah,
I will take the pieces I'm given and make a good cake instead of a store-bought cake. You gave me all the ingredients.
I'm not sure that is possible with what we have for this movie, but maybe.
I mean, I'm cutting a lot of stupid sex, and I'm making the script make sense. I'm giving the witches a reason. I'm giving an arc to this whole thing. I'm fixing it.
The best scene with the witches is the one we come to right now, which is where they're wearing chunky cable knits and drinking wine in the park.
It is so weird. It's a small-ass picnic. There's more kissing.
Yeah.
For a second.
The kiss is like what sends her into her like spiral of hallucinating, so I thought that had something to do with it.
Like a Poison Ivy situation?
Explain that. Sure, yeah.
The Poison Ivy, the villainess from Batman, not the plant.
Yeah. Or the sexual Skinamax movies.
Oh, it's a whole series, yeah. Well, then we had this old ass lady that they had shown you briefly with like a dramatic musical sting earlier. So I thought, and then I was like, oh, are we doing like a mother, maiden, and crone thing? But there's 4 women. And I was like, okay, well, that also could have been an interesting thing to explore. They are the mother, maiden, and crone, and this woman is a sacrifice.
And then it turns out, no, there's like 4 other women who are only in the cult at the end of the movie. Like the one she works with who just happens to also be in the
Miss
cult.
Grokey is now there.
Like, how deep does this rabbit hole go that this woman has been recruited this way?
And then at the end, people like her, jumping ahead because I hate this movie. Her boyfriend gets killed. And then everyone keeps going, well, he's out of town on assignment. Her boss tells her that. We cut to his family at Christmas, and his mom is like, oh, I don't think he'll be joining us. Like, does everybody is the world in on this?
I think that was supposed to be that the witches somehow tricked everyone. But again, they don't show any of this.
I mean, if you want to, what it should have been was the mom is in on it because all women should have been witches of Lilith.
Sure.
Every woman we saw in this movie should have been a witch of Lilith. So the mom is in on it. And then there should have been like an old lady in the office. Like, do you remember when we worked at together briefly, very, very briefly, like 13, 15 years ago? There was that one very sweet old lady in the office who just like was I think she was one person's admin assistant, but she just was like the bright old lady in the office, the Rose Island. That's what I want. And then she could have been the one to say, "Oh, he's on assignment." Like, make it all the women. If it's a lady empowerment magic witch cult, which I'm here for. I love that. Make it make sense.
Absolutely. I do like that they have pillows at their picnic.
I do too. It feels very like Sabrina, very, very Buffy. Like, I feel like this is the visual.
I was gonna say like a music video for someone who played Lilith Fair.
Yes. Mm-hmm. She has 2 sips of a rosé and says, "I've had too much to drink. I need to lay down." Which, like,
she has half a glass and finishes it, and then they pour another half a glass. She takes a single sip, and it's just like, "Oh, my head!" And I was like, "Oh, she's been drugged." But then the kiss seemed so important to the hallucination, I didn't know what to think.
Yeah, weird sapphic nonsense. And then her boyfriend shows up to the park, and I was like, "Well, how did he know she was there?"
Right.
And then apparently Miss Grotke told him and was like, "Well, you told me." And I was like, "Oh, she's in on it."
Yes. One of the trees has a face, which I kind of like.
Oh, yeah.
Hallucination. And then Hank, the boyfriend, who I wrote his name down here, he brings her on board the story with Phantasm's Reggie's approval.
Yeah, the boss says, "Get on the story."
It's Phantasm's Reggie, not
Whatever.
the boss.
I so checked out of this movie that, like, everything will just wash right off me. I'm like a Teflon pan. She's dressed like Molly fucking Ringwald.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Also, the main character of this movie, the actress's name is Neith Hunter, like Keith but with an N.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently she also plays this character in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. And I tried to look that up and I could not find it. And I was like, well, I'm not rewatching part 5.
She apparently has a cameo as like one of the main boys' friend's mom.
Well, there's 3 people from this movie in it, and they're not playing the same characters. I thought it said they were playing the same characters.
It's like.
So is this the bug child?
I don't know. I think it's meant to be like they would. It's as if, you were watching a Jurassic Park prequel, and like you didn't know any characters, and at the end he goes, "My name's John Hammond. Nice to meet you."
Sure,
and then they went, "Yeah!" Like, I think that's what it was. Like, for the super fans who hate themselves,
the people who were like, "I loved SNSD4, SNSD5 is out. I hope that Kim is in it."
Yeah, exactly.
The boyfriend is not quite coded, I suppose, but this like aggro abusive boyfriend shit really sucks. It's like a huge part of this.
But also, like, could have been more. Like, it's not enough. Where this movie goes too far, I'm like, oh, too far. And then, like, there's only too far and not enough. There's not a middle.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
She forgives him way too much, and he is too horny.
Yeah, he's always very horny. He's just constantly trying to get it in. She goes to Maud Adams's house, and
she visits the lesbian witch shopkeep.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I made you tea," and it's like, this tea tastes like boiled leaves. Like,
I don't mean to victim blame, but don't drink the tea.
Yeah, she keeps drinking. If I go to a picnic with you and I pass out after 2 half glasses of wine, and then subsequently you invite me to your house and you serve me tea, I'm going to take a polite fake sip where I go, and I'm not drinking it. I'm having a tea party as if I'm with a child.
Yeah. Like, if someone aggressively tells you to drink your tea or finish your tea, I'll drink on my own terms.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because in every movie, you know what you just did? You just killed yourself.
Yes. The only time this is acceptable is if you are in your 20s and you're with a group of same-sex people and they're all friends of yours, and you can tease one of your friends for bringing up the rear in terms of everyone else has finished their cocktail and I'm going to make a round of cocktails. And
Cocktail's different. I'm talking about tea. It's always tea in movies.
It's always tea.
It's always tea. Drink your tea. Finish your tea. I'll finish the tea when I want to finish my tea.
I'm just saying, I don't think you should pressure anybody to finish any drink ever, unless they're dehydrated or something.
But I'm speaking firmly about tea drinking.
I will have the tea at my own pace. Thank you very much.
I'll drink it how I want to.
Oh, Gov, you see this? He's got a cup of tea. It's been there for 4 minutes. He's still working on the darn thing.
Like, I know the Brits are crazy about tea temperature and
you know what?
Steepage.
Bugs.
Bugs.
Stamp it. Bugs.
Yeah. I just don't.
You're too slow with your tea? Bugs. You get the stamp. We got a big stamp made for this movie, and now we got to find other ways to use it.
That's what it always is. It's some, like, kindly old lady or, like, a sweet witchy shopkeep who's, like... Or when they do the thing where they, like, put their hand under the cup to, like, force it up. I'm like, okay. I'm not a baby. I know how to drink.
Yeah. And also, tea is hot, and she's like making her gulp down. Like tea is like 180 degrees. You do a
sip,
very hot,
and you let it.
Yeah.
Like you let it slide. You don't like.
Yeah.
Like it's not a Jello shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a shot of anything.
She also sprinkles something on top and is like, "Oh, it's something bark," and I'm like,
"Yeah." It looked like. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want
it. It looked like ash. It looked like...
Yeah.
I don't know. It was not good.
It was shiny on screen, which kind of looked cool.
Yeah. And then immediately lesbian witch is like, so your sex life is hot, right?
I bet you and Hank have great sex. And she also is like, my daughter died. I'm looking for a replacement, basically.
So strange. And then because Kim is drugged, she stumbles with her tea, and immediately this woman gets very mean.
Yes. Look what you've done.
Oh, this is going to be a thing.
Yeah,
like, look what you've done. Take this rag, clean it under the cup, under the kettle. I was like, oh, is there a bug under there? Is there something? I don't know.
Yeah. No, the bug is in the bowl of dates. That's coming shortly.
And then she force feeds her another date. She looks at it in her hand, and it is a crawling beetle, and she still eats it. And I'm like, I have no sympathy for you anymore.
I thought it was a roach.
It's a bug.
Okay. Well, I don't like roaches, and this movie has a lot of them. So it was like, I don't mind a beetle, but I hate a roach.
Either way, the woman looked at it and said, this is a bug, and then still ate it.
Here's the second best part of the movie. Eating the bug prompts this movie to go, hey, do you remember the last 43 minutes? Well,
I didn't like it the first fucking time I saw it.
I'm going to do like a 1 second a day challenge, but it's 1 second a minute for the last 43 minutes. And you're going to get the whole 43 minutes you've watched in 43 seconds. Here we go.
Because you know what you just told me, movie? That I didn't need to watch 43 minutes of movie.
Exactly.
That I could have watched a minute.
You could put this on right here and miss nothing except the sex scene and the first dummy fall.
Except I think that's in there too.
Oh, you're right. They probably are both in the montage. And she kisses her again.
Again with the kissing.
Yeah. So we fade out here.
Prepping her for some ritual, and it feels skeezy as hell.
We're doing like finger painting, and then we have this like sort of pure pro wrestling, like entering the room moment of like the big, entrance, which is very strange. Clint brings out a worm and I think a rat, and they're going to impregnate her.
The worm he puts on her stomach, and then it's inside her. And then they kill the rat and drop its blood on her, and then she vomits up a bug. Like, it's just...
It does like a Videodrome, like, in through the belly button thing.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
The Wikipedia says it goes in through the lady parts.
I mean, it fully is like
on the stomach,
her belly button, and then it like looks like it goes into the belly button. So I'm not sure.
I shouldn't say lady parts. I will say hoo-ha. I shouldn't say lady parts because it's not a strictly lady thing.
In any case, the bug gets inside her. She throws up. At this point, I was like, "Fuck! I hate this." How much time is left in the movie? Oh, it's like a half hour. Well, I'm so pot committed. That had to be as bad as it gets, right? And I was so wrong.
I feel like we need to like record a not an episode of like something, but like an in case of emergency break glass. Like it's just us talking for 45 minutes of nothing. But like, look, it sucked so bad that we just had to scrap it.
Yeah. Well, like we've said this before over the years.
We've come close. This is another very close to like, hey,
yeah. You watched the whole thing. I've only gotten to 45 minutes. I cannot do more of this. We'll just go from there and we'll talk about it. We'll see what we can come up with. Would have been fine at some point, but like,
I think that'll be a new thing for 2024. That like, if either of us, we each get one a year. We're like, hey, you already watched it. I'm here, but I gotta stop. So
yeah. Well, so the thing is, like, one, we've been doing this for going on 10 years. Like, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at figuring out if it's a good pick or not for something I've never seen before. In general, I feel like I've learned the formula after 300 episodes or whatever, at 260 episodes or whatever. And this one just fooled me, which happens sometimes. But like, it's really the yuck factor that really bothers me with this one.
Yeah.
It's so it's sleazy. It's not just that that it has.
It feels like it has a Skinamax porn soundtrack. Like it just. But feels it's also
gross. It's not just that it's got a lot of nudity. It's not just that there's a lot of sex scenes. Not just that it's got the bug stuff.
It's the energy of it's co-eds washing a car. It's
to me it's like way skeezier than that even. It's just like it's because most of the sex scenes are sexual assault. It's not like a consensual.
Yeah, I think there's only one consensual sex.
Right. And it's like later her partner is like feeling her up and she doesn't want that. And then we have the two scenes with the cult that are definitely rape, you know. It's just like hard, and it's just like I don't want to watch this shit. What are we doing? Yeah. But at the point I was like, for one, setting aside the sexual assault stuff and the rape scenes, like obviously that's not something I'm like trying to get over, but like, I don't know, as far as like a person who watches horror movies, like, oh, like I feel like I can build up a tolerance for the yucky stuff with the bugs and the things. And it's like, It's probably good to like push the boundary of that for yourself every once in a while, you know, and it's good to
buggy
do
stuff,
things
sure.
Like, yeah. And so I was like, I can handle this. And at the point where she's like vomiting this thing out of her mouth, I was like, you know what? I don't think I need to handle this. I think this is fine.
I'm good.
Yeah. She also gets like Clint rips this bug in half after she vomits it out. And they goop her? They like give her a bug goo facial, and they're like drizzling something that looks like clear honey on this actress's face. It's awful.
Yeah, yeah. She wakes up alone in a stranger's house and is not fazed by it.
Yeah.
Like she's just like casually putting on her sweater and grabbing her bag, like.
Yeah, she's like not freaked out that she passed out and had an insane dream in someone else's house, and
that person is now gone.
Up. Right, and then the coven shows up and like corners her, and I'm like, lady, fucking run!
And now
which she
she's
does try to do. Yeah,
she goes to her house and Hank is there, and again she's acting like a crazy person, like screaming and needing her keys, and like every trope of like a hysterical woman she's doing.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah. Of course people are treating her like she's crazy because you're writing her to act crazy.
Right. And then we immediately jump into a sex scene, and I was like, oh shit, is this going to be like a Species thing?
A red flag sex scene.
Yeah.
Red flag sheets with red lighting, a red flag sex scene.
And insane dialogue. This woman's line is, I'm going to make you so hard. I was like, this is a movie, not a porn. What are we doing? I want to fuck you
while you're sleeping. You look like a little boy in that shirt. Like, these are the lines that make you go,
what?
Huh?
And also, she keeps being like, I want to have sex with you while you're asleep. I want to fuck you while you're asleep. He's awake.
Yeah, she wants him to act. I hate it. And then Clint Howard walks in and looks.
Look, two consenting adults can have whatever shit they want to have.
I don't care. Yeah. I don't want to watch it.
But this is a movie.
Yeah.
Where are people who are going to watch this?
So yeah, Clint Howard shows up at her house and looks disappointed that they're having sex and just like sits on the bed and watches TV. And I don't.
He has another one of his weird ad lib lines here with the TV. I did not write it down, but this is where the third one happens.
Look,
where it's like a weird
Killer Santa Claus, because they're watching the beginning of the last movie.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And like, his character doesn't make any sense at all. Who is he? Why is he a part of this cult? What is his I hate his reactions and I hate his character because it doesn't make any sense. And I just want to.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't die sooner made me mad. And I love Clint Howard.
The guy like comes to, sees Clint Howard in his room and is like, what the hell? And they start having a fight. At which point Clint Howard bites him. And this is where I was like, let me do some, looking up. What did Clint Howard say about this movie? And the interview is, I found a role I could really sink my teeth into.
There it is. Thanks, Clint. Cut print.
Not real, but I wish it was. Because he bites him on the ankle.
He's so like, the woman freaks out and runs away, and he's like, what was her name? Catherine? Emily? Hang on.
I have absolutely no idea.
I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere. 2 seconds. Kim.
Okay.
He goes, come on, Kim, we gotta go. And it's like, you're talking to her as if she's your friend.
Yeah. Although he thinks that.
But the movie doesn't give any strides to say that he's perceiving it as friendship.
Right.
It seems like he's part of the cult and has a job.
Yeah, that's fair. He's like their what's the guy who eats bugs in Dracula?
Renfield.
Yeah. He stabs her in the foot under the door, which sucks.
I'm sorry. It is
like,
I don't mean to like size queen, but like it's the tiniest little knife I've ever seen. It's
a steak knife.
It's not even a steak knife. It's like a paring knife. What are the tiny ones you use for fish? It's tiny.
But he gets the boyfriend, Hank, and he starts stabbing him with these like real shallow stabs. And it was just brutal to watch because it's like when you get the like knife buried.
I didn't even think about that. To me, I was like, this just seems so like pathetic that he's like, like, oh, you're stabbing him. How cute.
This is a thing that like pops up in prison movies, all the time, where someone gets shivved and it's like the shiv blade is so small they get stabbed a lot, and it always seems like if you're gonna kill me with a knife, I'd much rather be one big into the hilt rather than like 10 intrusions.
Cuts the deepest.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises.
So he gets all these stabs. Yeah. Then in the chase into the bedroom, we learn that there's no sheets on the bed. It's just like a sleeping bag unfurled on top of it.
It is. It's like a weird. It's a bad hotel room with a top sheet, and that's it.
And clearly for the benefit of the movie's safety, which I'm honestly glad they did. I have no qualms with this being the movie, but you can see where they strapped the mattress and box spring together so that they wouldn't like slide off and cause someone to get injured when they toppled over it. But I was just like, guys, if you put a fitted sheet on, we wouldn't see this.
Mm-hmm. Her mouth is taped and her hands are taped behind her back, and she hides under the bed. And then for the first time ever, the movie shows restraint and doesn't show us her boyfriend brutally stabbed to death in front of her. And I was like, now a warning? Yeah.
And the friend from work shows up, Miss
Grotke.
Grotke. And that, I at this point, my notes get crazy because I'm like, how deep does this conspiracy go? Like, why is this woman such a valuable recruit?
Truly. And that's the other thing. Why? Why her?
Yeah.
Why this ritual? What are we hoping to accomplish?
I would love it if we had an explanation for why this woman got picked, honestly. We go to a meat locker, and I kept trying to figure out if they were prop meats or not, because I was like, wouldn't shock me if this movie could like find a
real meat locker. Just cold.
It's just like a guy who worked at one who wasn't above making $40. You know what I mean?
Also, just for everyone keeping score at home, there are 23 minutes left in this movie. And 3 paragraphs on Wikipedia.
Yes. And the credits are long. The actual runtime is probably more like 19 minutes, 18 minutes.
I was like, are you kidding me? There's 3 paragraphs left in this movie?
Clint puts on this dildo mask, and I was like...
It's like from Clockwork Orange.
It is very much like Clockwork Orange, yes. And I've also seen a comedy version of it more recently than Clockwork Orange. But I was like, okay, this is going to be weird. And then they start oiling him up and they're talking about like rebirth. And I was like, okay, if Clint Howard fully climbs inside this woman, I'm turning this movie off. And that is the end of the movie for the podcast purpose.
Maybe just the end of the podcast. Maybe it's the one that kills us.
It's just like, if I have to watch Clint Howard crawl inside a woman's body, vagina first, I just can't do that. I don't think. And they keep the oil and keeps happening. Oiled. And I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to do it. Oh my God, they're going to do it. Should I stop?
And then the woman keeps saying it hurts to give birth to yourself. And I was like, well, what?
Yeah.
Is a Little Kim going to come out? Not Lil Kim, the rapper, but is a Little Kim going to pop out of this woman?
Yeah, absolutely.
So she gets raped. Cool. And then,
it is a traditional rape scene instead of the rape of Clint Howard physically climbing inside her, which is at least different than what I thought was about to happen.
That's fair. Well,
it's the one and only time I've ever watched a movie and gone, well, at least it's just rape. It's never happened to me
I thought
before.
It was going to be nose mask rape. So
yeah.
So
that's the thing. I thought it was going to be nose mask into.
Oh, you thought?
He's going in there. I thought the nose was I knew you thought he was going to climb in.
I didn't realize you were also thinking nose mask.
No, I thought they were going to like use Clint like an arrow.
I don't know. We need to not.
This is my problem.
I need a chapter forward on this DVD conversation.
I was like, but here's the thing. I was like, this is Screaming Mad George. He's going to make something that Clint Howard is going to crawl through, and I'm going to have to look at it. Like, oh my God, what are we doing?
I know. She has this gnarly body morphing horror and metamorphosis, like bug thing. Her boyfriend's on chest hooks.
Yeah, her legs fused together. It's like a full Hellraiser.
Well, first her like quote unquote water breaks, and then her legs fuse together.
Yes, but it's also not just chest hooks, which is like a thing I find pretty squicky when people do that sort of body mod and like dangle. This is like the guy's meat. Like it's not just
it's more. It's less nightlife, sideshow entertainment, and more Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah. My coworker, former coworker, a place I used to work, they had an event where some of the people were in New Orleans, and
I don't know if you told us on the podcast.
Did I tell us on the podcast or not? Oh, I might have. If I apologize if this is a quick repeat, but they went to a burlesque show that involved women like stapling money to their chests.
Yeah, it was
just the wrong vibe. Yeah.
It's a form. It's not my favorite form. It's not the kind I do, but oh boy.
Yeah. The butcher shows up and he's like, congratulations, you've been initiated. And she's like, well, what does that mean? And it's like, it's not like this was pitched to her as like,
hey, you have to sprint to the credits. You can't ask any questions.
Yeah. We are running out of tape here.
We are running out of runway.
So we get another shot of the girl painting, the serving girl painting, which I was like, oh yeah, she's back.
She's there. The police find no evidence in her house and accuse her of being crazy and tell her she should go to a therapist.
Also, I do want to point this out before we go too far. If your coven of all women ends their initiation by taking the troll that you have on staff and having the troll have sex with the newest woman,
get a hotter troll.
The leader of your coven is a man.
And
this is all building up to a man who probably would not conventionally have much sex, getting to have sex. The leader is the guy who's having the sex that he normally wouldn't. So you know, this is not a feminist power thing that you've created. You've created yet another angle of the patriarchy. I
mean, except Clint Howard's not in charge. Period.
What I'm saying is like, if
normally
the machinations. Like, Clint Howard is obviously not the guy wielding the presidential gavel, but all of the benefits of this go to Clint Howard.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're a bunch of witch women and one man has to have sex and you have sex with you, get the hottest man you can find.
Right.
Get your Chris Hemsworth. What do you do?
What's wrong with Hank? Like, he's fine.
Yeah.
And then we get like was it real or not? And at that point, I'm like, now, wait a minute. If you're going to tell me this whole movie was bullshit, I'm going to be very upset that you made me watch all this yucky stuff.
Almost as mad as I was last episode when there was the time loop.
Yeah. And then the character asks a question of another character, and someone's like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm just like, "Movie, you need to know.
You need to know the answers.
We're at minute 80 of your 88 minutes. You need to know this answer."
Yeah, so she goes to her Christmas party. I'm like, "Oh, there's a Christmas party?"
And don't quote fucking Spider-Man at me either, because there's a thing about power and responsibility. Sorry,
exactly.
Christmas party.
They go to the Christmas party. She goes to a Christmas party for 5 seconds, and her boss goes, "Oh, your boyfriend's on assignment out of town." I was like, "So he's a witch, I guess?"
Yeah.
And then Miss Grotke is like, "Oh, yeah, no, you need to bring us a kid." And so she runs away.
We need a sacrifice. It must be young and tasty.
Yeah. Like, it has to be her boyfriend's brother, I guess, because her boyfriend's dead. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she doesn't know any other kids.
But they didn't say it has to be a kid. They said it has to be your boyfriend's brother.
Oh, right. Because like we already had him, so now we need him as well.
So we are just sprinting at breakneck speed for this.
Yeah,
for
it's like
credits.
We find drugs in a cabinet.
That was the police officer found the drugs already earlier and said you should try therapy. You crazy person.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Sorry.
She's like, fine, I'll do it. I'll kidnap my boyfriend's brother.
Is this before or after her legs get set on fire? Sorry.
Oh, that's right. This is when she decides to do it because her legs get set on fire.
Oh, that's right. Clint is chasing her, and she's like, "I won't do it. And then she starts to spontaneously combust, and she's in
her
the
fingies
shower,
get all wiggly and weird,
fused together. Yeah, and she's like in the shower, running the water, trying to stop her legs from combusting. And the moment she says, "Oh," also Maud's face is on the television, which is like how she sees, like seeing this. And when she's like, "All right, I'll do it," the fire just stops, and I was like, "Well." What's the timeline? Like, just keep saying you'll do it. You know,
maybe it knows. Maybe it knows you, like that you're not planning on doing. Although, maybe I don't know. Whatever. I don't care.
Second thought, I don't care.
I truly cannot care. So they drive over to her boyfriend's family's house. She like lures the little brother outside.
The dad is recording everything on a camcorder, like as he does his like racist
small camcorder.
play-by-play.
Shockingly,
it is. Well, this is 91, 93.
This is 90.
I forget which year. 90. Okay. Also, did you notice that the shot was flipped when she went up to the front door, so you couldn't read the address?
Oh no, I didn't.
So the house is like 3068, and it's flipped, and like all the numbers are wrong, or 3067, all the numbers are wrong.
Oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, she lures the brother outside and is like, "Get in the van, your brother's in here." And then Clint Howard decides to murder the guy's parents. And and why?
Yes, like wouldn't these people be sacrifices? Like, shouldn't you be also kidnapping them? I like the bit where the dad, it switches to the POV of the dad with the camcorder as he punches Clint Howard with the camcorder.
I did like that.
So we see the camcorder, like, it becomes like a found footage movie for like 10 seconds as the camera gets thrown punches a few times.
And we finally get a Christmas death in this movie.
Yes, Strangle with Christmas Lights is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. The house catches on fire, and then she drives away without Clint Howard, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, she's rescuing the boy. Sure, that makes sense.
Or not even. Just that this character's not in the movie anymore. Not even.
The one time you couldn't call the Uber driver.
Exactly. And again, I feel so bad because I love Clint Howard. And I was just like, this character sucks, dude.
Yeah, this character does suck.
And then Clint Howard jumps in the moving van and whatever. They have the boy tied up and they rip open his shirt. And then the leader of the witch cult is like, "You made the decision when you came to me." What? She was looking for a book on spontaneous combustion for a fake news story.
And you gave her a different book that she didn't want. She tried to give it back to you.
Like, how is this anyone's fault but yours? Clint gets stabbed, finally, and then eaten by bugs.
Yeah, it's like a pile of slug monsters. It's really disgusting.
It is. And then the cult leader, Fema, is like, my daughter. Oh, her daughter was the one that jumped off the building in the beginning of the movie. She says that very quickly in the end of this movie, towards the end here.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she's like, well, and now you're going to burn too, because you started this and you can't finish it. I'm like, she didn't start it. She didn't fucking start it. And then Kim's fingers smoosh together and catch on fire, and she stabs Fema with it, and then Fema gets the curse. And I was like, huh?
Yeah. What? And then she does burn up and fall on the building, and it's a cool dummy.
It's a cool stunt, but it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Oh baby, this ain't no stunt. This is a dummy.
And then, I mean, it's still throwing.
They throw a dummy off.
It's still throwing a flaming thing off a building. That's a stunt.
Yeah. That's fair.
And then the other women in the witch cult just look at her flaming body and are like, and then Kim just looks at them and walks away. And I was like, no physical violence, no threats, no words, no nothing for these ladies. They deserve it. Come on.
Yeah, they sure do. Also, my note here is that this movie is actually about 80 minutes, which I didn't 100% time, but it does have a long opening credits and a long
80 sounds
so
right.
I would believe it.
But yeah. I think in the like Wikipedia and stuff, he says he wrote the main character Kim to be a stand-in for Lilith, and I was like, bullshit, you did. Like, in what world does she represent Lilith?
Maybe he just doesn't know who Lilith is.
I think that's what it is, because Lilith was too proud and too strong to bow down to man.
Sure.
And I'm like,
not this.
That's not her. That's not this character.
No, this ain't it. This ain't it. No.
This ain't it, kid.
Well, that's the end of the movie, mercifully. One of the worst ones we've ever done for the show.
It's a Hall of Shame for sure.
It is. We
used to do that, didn't we? We had a Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, didn't we? At one point,
I thought we just had a Hall of Fame.
No, maybe it was just Hall of Fame,
which we haven't done in a long time. I should probably take that down off the website. We have not done that bit in like more than 5 years.
We can try bring it back. We'll make it biannual.
We're not going to remember that. I just know the answer is not that. And I also didn't think anybody particularly enjoyed it that much.
No.
I had a thought and then I got distracted and I'm trying to bring it back and sort of failing. I would say this is like more competently made, right? Like the acting is poor, the writing is bad, but like, well, I'm trying to remember. I feel like Parasite 3D is the one I always think of. Just like, not only was it incomprehensible, like the script was bad, the acting was bad, blah, blah, blah. Like the effects also.
The effects.
So there's like,
you're right.
There's like some stuff in here that is like salvageable, but the fifth version of this is so much more entertaining than this one is.
Although the fifth one does have the Oedipus robot sex thing, so like it's still weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, look, you do a part 5, you're gonna get to some weird stuff.
Ken doll mound humping a lady, calling her mommy. So
yeah, not my favorite. Not my favorite. They got a little Amityville-y.
Yeah, that's saying something.
Yeah, but this is a hard not recommend, even though it's very easily accessible. It's on Tubi, but
thank you. Do yourself a favor.
You don't need this one. You could just listen to this episode and not watch this movie. There's some listeners I know out there who like aggressively listen. Maybe I should cut this and put it in the beginning. There are some people out there I know who are like, "Oh, I gotta watch the movie."
You don't gotta.
You don't gotta watch this movie. I promise you. Anyway, hard not recommend from both of us. Any
hard
other
pass.
Final thoughts? Yeah.
No, it sucks. It sucks. I was so mad. Like, it sucks when you get to the point like halfway through you check out. I'm like, well, now it's a chore. Now this next 45 minutes is just a chore.
Yeah. There's been plenty of movies where I'm like, maybe if I come back to this, it'll be better. And in this one, I was like, we're just going all the way through. I'm not splitting this into two of my Earth days are not going to have this in it.
Or even like sometimes I'm like, I'm probably not in a good headspace to appreciate this movie. No, I think I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, we have a great one for our next episode. One of the all-time American cinema classics, which will be your first time, I believe. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Goodfellas.
It is my first time. Yeah, I've not seen any of those classic. I've referenced it a lot because I know the garlic scene. And is funny haha in Goodfellas? Am I gonna hate this?
So this is what I wanted to say. I was gonna give you this off mic, but maybe I'll just give it to you on mic. This is a movie about bad people, but the movie doesn't think that they're good people.
So the movie is fine with them being like It's Always Sunny. They're bad people, and we all know they're bad.
Yeah, like the movie, there is no part of this movie that like, now mind you, when you watch this movie when you're a 15-year-old idiot named Trip, you're like, everybody in this movie is so fucking cool and powerful.
I mean, I don't think it's a 15-year-old Trip thing. I think that's a lot of men thing.
Yeah. This movie is about like this movie is about some extremely toxically masculine men and the toxically masculine world in which they operate. And it's also about like American culture as a whole and like the way society is fucked and stuff. Like it's about, you know, the corrupting power of money and the evil of might and all this stuff. Like the movie is a very fun and cool looking movie on its face, but it is like not unaware that all of these people are monsters, right? But so like that, like go in with the headspace of that. Like the characters are incredible performances, like all the way around. Lorraine Bracco is amazing. Pesci, of course, De Niro, of course, Ray Liotta's best movie of all time, without question. But like, they're all bad people. There's no good people in this movie. There is not a good person in the whole movie.
I probably won't love it.
But I think also, I was going to say to you is like, even if you're like having trouble with the narrative of it, like it's not landing for you, not connecting, I would say like, as a person who likes movies and the craft of movies, this is like one of the...
watch The Craft instead?
We could do that for your pick if you wanted. You haven't decided what we're watching yet. Although I think that isn't legal on the podcast.
It's not legal.
Yet.
It's not legal
Not yet. Wink, wink. It'll all be explained soon, folks. Don't worry. But yeah, so like the craft of this movie, there are some of the greatest shots I've ever seen in any movie in this movie. There's a particular long take where Henry
to the back
Hill,
of the restaurant.
Yeah. And you may have seen it out of context or whatever, but like it is amazing. Like from the craft of filmmaking, it is incredible.
Yeah,
so
I love
like,
long takes.
But if all you want to do is just be like, okay, I can't get into this narrative, although I think the narrative is very entertaining, but like if you can't get into it or it's too violent or whatever, like all those things are valid, and you might not like this movie, and that's fine if you don't like it. But if you're not getting into it that way, I would encourage you to like just start like picking out an extra or something, because like there's all sorts of cool shit that this movie rewards you for paying attention to. Of like Scorsese's style is very interesting, because like, you probably haven't even watched a Scorsese movie before. Now that I'm thinking about it, this might be your first ever.
I think I have, because didn't he? I feel like he made a random one that isn't very Scorsese.
There's like a boy in a
Hugo.
Yeah,
I think I've seen Hugo.
Okay, so you've seen a Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think
Scorsese makes movies for me, and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't think you're gonna love this movie, but I like, as somebody who loves movies, I think there's so much in this movie that you're like, well, that just fucking rules. Like the way music is used, the way like needle drops and non-diegetic music is used, and like the way scenes are blocked is incredible. So like, if nothing else, just start enjoying that part.
I think I always pictured this movie is the same as A Bronx Tale in my head.
There is some distinct similarity between the two movies.
I think that's why in my head I'm like, oh, I've seen A Bronx Tale.
Yeah,
I've seen most of A Bronx Tale.
It is a rise and fall movie that starts with a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
So you see him like become a teenager and get involved with the mob, and then become an adult who's like fully involved in the mob, and this is what he does for a living, and his wife is part of it, and whatever. But there's like just so much that's just so fucking good in this movie. If nothing else, I think Lorraine Bracco will be your life.
My rock. Okay.
Yeah. Because like
there's strong women. If there's strong women,
there is a ton of strong women in this movie.
I got something to hold on to in this story.
Men get more to do for sure.
I mean, duh.
Yeah. But like Lorraine Bracco's character her performance is incredible. I don't know how I feel about the character, but the performance is incredible. I mean, it's like truly remarkable. Really, really good stuff all around from her. And like how she goes from like, oh boy, isn't this kind of crazy and like whatever, to getting dragged, and she's just part of the thing, you know, as it goes along. So it's really, really good. And the fact that it takes place over such a long period of time, I really like a lot about it. The young Ray Liotta actor is very good as well. The young Joe Pesci kid, you're going to love.
Okay. I love Pesci.
But the young Joe Pesci kid is like perfect. He's like really, really ridiculously good. Did he do anything else? Do
you know?
Yeah, I don't remember his name. He's in other stuff too, but he really nails the like vibe of this Joe Pesci. And Joe Pesci's character is like a completely unhinged, terrifying lunatic. Like he's
I love
so
those characters
scary
sometimes. As long as I know, like I love good psychopath acting.
Yeah, that's what this movie is. It's just it's like It's Always Sunny, but way more violent.
But yeah.
And not a comedy, obviously. But so I hope you like it, but if you don't, that's fine too.
We'll find out.
I'm going to make my wife watch it with me, and I'm very curious how that's going to go.
Yeah, I am too. You have to let me know.
Anyway, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Lots of incredibly great bonus content there and our monthly newsletter. So go check that out. We just recently did a fun episode on Nickelodeon game shows. So go check that out. That was a hoot. What else? Visit us on Facebook, say hi on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you're supposed to call it. We'll probably delete that at some point. Where should I go? Actually, this is a very valid question.
Don't they do Blue Sky? Blue Sky is one I heard.
Yeah, but like if you're listening to this podcast, what social media should this podcast be on so that we can like tell you about new episodes and like engage you in conversation? Like I would actually like to know that. So use Twitter or Facebook to tell us, or email us at dissectingthe80s@gmail.com.
Or leave us a voicemail. We still have
856-DISSECT. That's fine. But like, I'm genuinely asking, if you're listening to this podcast and you like use social media, neither of us is big on it, and I'm like, I need to do it for the show. I'd like the show to keep growing.
I was big on it, but I just got very disillusioned by Instagram because it's awful.
Yeah. No, I'm a person who's like pretty much uses Letterboxd and Reddit, and even Reddit I'm like trying to cut down this year because I think I use it too much. And so like I want to promote the show, and I want to promote the show in front of people, and I don't know where that is anymore. So if you're listening to the show and you use social media, tell us where you like to find stuff, and maybe we can make an account there and do this. Anyway, lastly, review the damn show if you haven't yet. Get on there, write a review. It helps the show tremendously. We really appreciate it. If it's not on Apple Podcasts, send it to us in an email and we'll read it on the air. We haven't done that in like a year, so send us a review.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until our next bug-free episode.
Don't you forget about me.
You don't need this one. You could just listen to this episode and not watch this movie. There's some listeners I know out there who like aggressively listen. Maybe I should cut this and put it in the beginning. There are some people out there I know who are like, oh, I gotta watch the movie.
You don't gotta.
You don't gotta watch this movie. I promise you. Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production. Ow.